I don't know how we'll do next year, Josh. Like, I don't know that any of this particularly affects how I think he's going to do next year. I said what I said about the bowl game. I felt like he was playing a character.
Okay, give us a new transcript real fast. What do you think about the celebration,
No,
Jack?
this is I thought he was kind of playing like movie role quarterback leader of the team typecast in that game. It felt like it to me. Anyway, I know people on Facebook very much disagreed with that. That didn't necessarily mean I think that he's doomed to fail next year because of that, but I do hope he's comfortable in his own skin, right? At some point, because I think that will be important. And I don't know if he is or not. So, I mean, but beyond that, I just don't, other than he's throwing the football to the Rizzler and it's funny or whoever that is. And or baby Gronk or whatever. And it's, funny to talk about. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know how that affects anything or if it does.
So last year, I don't know, and like there's been a variety of comments in here. One of them was from Stu Manji. I'm genuinely curious to know how Dylan is viewed inside the locker room. Fight points out an absolute take it to the bank guarantee. The first time NU loses in 2025, the shouts of C. He should have spent the offseason studying the playbook / working out will be deafening. I 100% agree with you there.
Yep.
I'm looking at his numbers from last year right now, and you kind of forget sometimes that he got off to just such a good start. 2 touchdowns, no picks in the game one, 70% completion percentage, 1 versus 0 against Colorado. And I think he had 1 or 2 touchdowns taken off the board in the second half on 77% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick versus Northern Illinois. And that was the first of the deep passes that we were like, wow, that's weird. But Isaiah Nair should have battled for the ball better against Illinois. I thought, I was in person for that game. I've talked about it before, the Friday night loss, like that. There were throws he made that I was like, holy shit, I've never seen anything like this before. And yet, of course, he misses the most important throw of the entire game to Lindenmeyer. He overthrows him. They don't score. They lose. They miss field goal. They lose in overtime. And that was the beginning of the massive step back. If you look at the numbers after the Friday night game versus Illinois, he had 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. He finished 5 touchdowns, 9 picks. And actually, Jack, you could go to the extra week and add in the Purdue game. He has 9 touchdowns, 2 picks after 5 games. So the final, 8 games of the year, because they played a bowl game, he only had 4 touchdowns versus 9 interceptions. He took a massive, massive step back. And he was injured. Like, he was legitimately banged up. That is not excuse 100%. Making. We talked about it on the pod. We talked about, I was hearing a variety of things.
And multiple injuries.
He had multiple injuries. So the question that I continue to ask going into year 2 is how much of the back half of the season was him being hurt versus how much of it was defenses catching up with him, Satterfield's play calling, the offense in general, no run game, all of these things. How big of an impact could having Dana Holgorsen as his OC for a whole year and a whole offseason? How big of a factor could that play into his improvement in year 2?
I don't know, man. He just made some throws that did not look right. That didn't. Yeah. I even remember when Heinrich Harburg came in when he got hurt against UCLA. I was like, Harburg throws it in a way that looks better and more confident than Dylan Raiola right now, that's a heck of a sentence, right? For a guy who's switching to be a tight end. But you make a great point that I think people, at least me, I forget that at halftime of the Illinois game, I think I had some kind of a tweet that said, look, I don't know how the rest of the season goes, but I know Nebraska is going to be in every game because of Dylan Raiola.
Yeah.
In all honesty, that was.
Think about how that changed then.
After he threw that
the next week,
he threw that touchdown before halftime.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, they're never going to be out of this game. They're never going to be out of any game because he's going to be a magician.
Well, Jack, look at the video. D'Lo just posted a video that was early second half. Nebraska's deep in their own territory, and he layers it over the Illinois guys. And it is a tremendous reminder of, in September, there were faults with the team, but he didn't seem like one of them, right? We thought he would make freshman mistakes, but we did not see the collapse coming like it did, because I got a text from somebody at halftime of that game, kind of like what you're talking about, Jack, where it was like, how many Big Ten quarterbacks would you draft over Dylan Raiola right now? And the question didn't seem insane in that moment. But starting essentially the next week versus Rutgers, everything falls apart. And I guess the next week was Purdue, right? Whatever it was. Suddenly everything changed for the rest of the year, and you never felt confident in him again.